The house was quiet. Finally, the kind of quiet that feels like a reward until it turns into something else. Have you ever had peace so perfect it made you realize how lonely you actually are? There was a time I thought chaos was the enemy. When Chase was little, it was always something: bills, busted water heater, fevers in the middle of the night, diapers in the back seat, screaming over missing homework. I used to fall asleep wondering if I'd ever catch a break. But now, I've got the break. The house stays clean, the fridge is full. I can afford candles that smell like coconut and sea salt instead of the dollar store kind that barely burned. Chase is 20 now. He's tall and quiet like his dad, but sweeter, more like me on the inside, emotional, careful. We raised each other in some ways. After his father left, it was just us. No child support, no weekends off, just me figuring it out, one scraped knee and one bedtime story at a time. I didn't date much, couldn't really. Babysitters cost more than dinner, and the men who did stick around for a minute, they wanted fun, not a 5-year-old with questions and night terrors. So I poured everything into being a mom, and Chase made it easy. He was loyal, protective, always asked if I was okay. Still does. This summer he asked if his best friend Eli could stay with us for a bit. I said yes before he finished the sentence. I liked Eli. He always offered to carry groceries and thanked me for dinner. A good kid, solid. The kind you trust. The kind you open your door to. I didn't expect anything to shift. I had my routine. Tea at 7, work emails by 9, books on the porch at dusk. It was steady, safe. But sometimes, safety gets real quiet. And in that quiet, old feelings come knocking. Ones you buried under years of doing what needed to be done. Have you ever felt that weird mix of peace and emptiness, like you finally got what you wanted, but something still felt missing? Drop us if you know what I mean. I read every comment, and if you're new here, hit that follow, because it gets messier from here. It was one of those July nights where the air feels like honey, thick, warm and slow. The sun had already ducked behind the trees, but the heat still hung around like it had nowhere better to be. Chase had gone out with some old high school friends. I told him to have fun, not to worry. It had been a good summer for him. More laughs, less stress. Eli had a lot to do with that. He brought out this light in Chase I hadn't seen in a while. The kind of brotherly energy Chase never really had growing up. Eli stayed behind that night. Said the guys were going to some bar downtown, but he wasn't in the mood. He was like that, quiet in a way that felt thoughtful, not awkward. He had that calm energy that makes you want to open up, even if you don't mean to. I was already out back when he came looking for me, 2 wine glasses in one hand, the bottle tucked under his arm, like a football. "You still like red?" he asked, smiling that easy smile. I nodded. "Only on nights that end in neon." We both laughed, and he poured. We sat on the edge of the hot tub at first, our feet in the water. I remember thinking how normal it felt, just 2 people enjoying a warm night. He asked how work was. I asked if he missed campus. Nothing serious, just soft conversation. But there was something under it, a quiet hum, like the air was waiting for something to happen. After a while I slipped into the water. The heat wrapped around me like a second skin. He followed. And suddenly the tub didn't feel so big. The bubbles masked a lot. How close we were, how his knee brushed mine every now and then. But I felt it, and I noticed when he didn't move away. I tried to shake it off. Told myself I was imagining it, that it was the wine, or the summer, or the way loneliness can sometimes sneak up and trick your brain into reading things wrong. But then it happened. I shifted to adjust the jets behind me, didn't realize how far I leaned until I lost my balance and plop landed right on Eli's lap. I froze. "God, I'm so sorry," I said quickly, trying to move, but his hands came up gently, one on my waist. "It's okay," he said, soft but steady. "You're fine." It was such a small thing, just a second or two, but something in the way he said it made the whole moment stretch out. Time kind of bent. I pulled away, sat back in my spot, heart knocking at my ribs like it wanted out. I didn't look at him right away. I couldn't. Inside my head, things were spinning. Did he notice the way I reacted? Did he feel anything? Or was it just me? Just a tired woman, who hadn't felt wanted in years, getting her signals all mixed up. When I finally looked up, he was already watching me. Not staring, not smirking, just watching. There was a softness there. Or maybe I just wanted there to be. I laughed it off. Because that's what I do when I don't know what else to do. Well, that's what I get for being 5'0". I joked. No balance. He smiled. I didn't mind. 3 words. That's all he said. I didn't mind. In the way he said them, calm, unbothered, almost curious. Like maybe part of him did notice the tension. And maybe part of him didn't mind that either. After that, we both got a little quieter. The wine was gone. The water started to cool. But we didn't move. I felt exposed in a way I hadn't in a long time. Not physically, emotionally. Like someone had cracked the window open on a room I thought I'd locked for good. I watched the steam rise off the water, and wondered what would happen if I just leaned in again. But I did. I told myself it was just a moment. A harmless accident. Nothing more. But I went to bed that night, feeling something I hadn't felt in a very, very long time. Not ashamed, not scared, not even guilty. Just, no. And if you've ever gone years without that feeling, without someone looking at you like you're more than a shadow, you know exactly how dangerous that can be. Have you ever had a moment like that? One where the air just changed, and you weren't sure what it meant, but you couldn't stop thinking about it after? Tell me your story in the comments. Let's talk about it. And if you're into stories that live in the gray, hit that follow. It only gets deeper from here. I told myself I was imagining it. That night in the hot tub, just a slip, just a weird moment. But the next few days felt different. It's like once you open a door, even just a crack, you start hearing things on the other side. Every little glance, every smile, you start to wonder if it means more than it should. A couple mornings later, I came down to find Eli in the kitchen, shirtless, barefoot, cooking eggs like he lived there. He did kind of, but it had never felt like this before. He turned around, spatula in hand. "Hey, are you hungry?" I nodded, trying not to stare at his chest, or his arms, or that little V-shaped line that dipped below his waistband like it was pointing somewhere I had no business looking. "You're up early," I said, reaching for a mug. "Didn't hear you come in last night." He shrugged. "Didn't go out. I was in the garage. Needed some alone time." He looked up. "You ever feel like the only way to clear your head is to be around machines?" I laughed. "No, I bake. Or organize the Tupperware drawer." We both smiled. It was easy again. Until it wasn't. I opened the fridge and bent down digging for cream. And I felt it. His eyes, just lingering. Not disrespectful, not creepy, just aware. I stood up slowly, turned. He didn't look away. That was new. That night, Chase was back but up in his room gaming with headphones in. I made popcorn, picked a movie, and settled into the couch. Eli walked in as the credits rolled. "Are you watching something?" he asked. "Just started." I lifted the bowl. "Popcorn tax applies if you sit." He grabbed a handful and dropped onto the couch next to me. Not close, but closer than usual. Legs stretched out. He smelled like shampoo and warm skin. It was distracting. The movie was forgettable. Some action thing with too many explosions. But somewhere between scene 5 and 6, I realized neither of us was really watching. I shifted to tuck my feet under me and accidentally brushed his thigh. He didn't move. Neither did I. Then the flirting started. Soft, barely there lines woven into the silence. He teased me about my reaction to one of the fight scenes. "What, you don't think I could take a guy like that?" he said, smirking. I rolled my eyes. "Please. You'd cry if you chipped a tooth." "Oh really?" He leaned in a bit. "I'll have you know I once took down Chase in 2 seconds flat." "Was that before or after puberty?" I fired back. He laughed. A low warm sound that curled in my stomach and settled somewhere it shouldn't. Then with a grin, "You and Chase both treat me like your mini bodyguard." I raised an eyebrow. "Not so mini." His eyes flicked to mine. I knew I'd crossed a line with that one, and I didn't regret it. Not fully. A few minutes later, he glanced down. "Your headlights are on." I blinked. "What?" He tilted his chin toward me, grinning. "Your shirt. It's kinda thin." I looked down. Damn. I hadn't noticed how cold it'd gotten in the room. I crossed my arms, more amused than embarrassed. "Well, thanks for the warning." "Hey, I'm just trying to be a gentleman," he said, grinning. But the way he said it didn't feel innocent. It felt like a dare. I didn't take the bait, at least not out loud. But inside, my thoughts were moving fast. Not just about how he looked or what he said, but how alive I felt again. Like I was in my own skin instead of buried under mom duty and laundry lists and boring routine. Later that night, I went upstairs to brush my teeth and caught a glimpse of myself in the mirror. There I was, hair tied up, oversized sleep shirt, no makeup. But I looked awake. Not pretty, not glamorous. But be aware, present, electric in a way I hadn't been in years. That scared me more than anything, because I knew the slope was slippery. And I'd already taken the first step. Ever been in a moment where the rules changed, without anyone saying a word, where everything felt the same but nothing actually was? Tell me in the comments. I want to know what happened next for you. And if you're still watching this unfold, don't forget to subscribe or follow. We haven't even hit the deep end yet. It didn't happen all at once. That's the thing people get wrong. There wasn't some huge moment where I suddenly thought, It was quieter than that. Slower. Like turning the heat up by 1 degree every night. Until you're sweating and don't even realize the room's on fire. And the fire, it started in the sauna. The one Chase and Eli built in the backyard as some bonding project over spring. They were proud of it. Eli called it his masterpiece. I hadn't used it much, just once or twice with a book and cucumber water pretending I was at a spa. But that night, something pulled me toward it. It was late, the moon was high, and the house was quiet again. I'd heard Eli moving around outside, probably fixing something. I figured it wouldn't hurt to go sit in there for 10 minutes. Clear my head, let my skin feel something. I wrapped a towel around myself, another for underneath, and stepped in. The heat hit instantly, wet and heavy, like the air was hugging me too tightly. But it felt good. It made my thoughts soften, my limbs sink. Then the door creaked open. Eli stepped in, shirtless, towel slung low, his skin already glistening from the heat outside. He looked surprised. "Oh, didn't think anyone was in here." I should have left, or asked him to, but I didn't. I smiled. "You can stay, just keep to your corner." He chuckled and sat across from me, stretching out like he owned the place. His leg brushed mine as he shifted. He didn't apologize. I didn't move. The air between us changed. Again, no words, just steam and silence. At one point I reached for my water and my towel slipped a little at the top. Just enough to show the top curve of my breast. I saw his eyes flicker, just for a second. But that second hung there like smoke. I adjusted the towel and sipped slowly. He leaned back, his arm resting behind his head. Eyes steady now, still polite, still pretending, but pretending too well. We didn't touch, not in the way people think, but our knees brushed again and again, and neither of us moved. Later, in the kitchen, wet hair, loose robe, still warm from the sauna, I found him leaning against the counter drinking straight from the orange juice bottle, like a college kid, like he wasn't the reason my hands were shaking. I gave him a look. "Use a glass, barbarian." He grinned, wiped his mouth. Old habits. I poured a glass of water and leaned on the opposite counter, pretending I wasn't hyper-aware of every inch between us. Then I said it. Half a joke, half a warning. "Maybe we should make some house rules." He raised an eyebrow. "Like what?" I smirked. "No more shirtless breakfasts. No sauna drop-ins. And absolutely no sitting too close on the couch." He laughed. "You forgot one." "What's that?" He took a step toward me barely. "Just enough. No looking at me like that." My breath caught. "Like what?" I whispered. His voice dropped. like I'm someone you're not supposed to want. The room went still. My mouth opened, closed, open again. And for one full second I almost said screw the rules. One step closer, and I would've, but instead, I exhaled. I walked past him slow, heart in my throat. He didn't stop me. He didn't have to, because we both knew, whatever line we were pretending hadn't been crossed, it was already gone. That night, I couldn't sleep. I stared at the ceiling, replaying everything in my mind like it was a movie I hadn't finished. The way his voice dropped, the look in his eyes, the heat, the silence, the tension that could split bone. It wasn't just about him. It was about being seen, desired, not in a creepy, leering way, but in a real way, in a way that said, "You're still here, you're still beautiful, you're still a woman." It made me feel alive, and that scared the hell out of me, because I knew what was coming if we didn't pull back. CTA for engagement. Be honest. Have you ever been in a situation where the rules didn't technically get broken, but they bent so far they nearly snapped? Where you both knew what was happening, even if no one said it out loud? Tell me. I want to hear the almost. And if you're still with me, hit that follow. We're about to hit the hardest part. It had been 3 days since the kitchen, since the looking at me like that line. 3 days since we drew a line and danced all over it like it was a joke. We didn't talk about it, but we didn't have to. That's the cruel thing about almost everything. They take up just as much space as the real thing. I could feel it in the way Eli started lingering more, in the pauses that lasted too long, in the little jokes that had more weight now, and I felt it in myself too. I was walking around my own house like it was made of tripwires. Then came that last night. Chase had gone camping with 2 buddies. Just a weekend trip. He asked if I wanted him to stay. I told him to go. I meant it. Or I thought I did. It was raining that evening. One of those steady, quiet storms. The kind that makes everything feel closer. I came down to the living room to find Eli on the couch, blanket across his lap, watching the thunder out the window, barefoot, hair still damp from his shower. I made tea, mostly for something to do with my hands. I didn't ask if he wanted some. I just brought him a mug. He took it without looking at me. "Thanks," he said, voice lower than usual. I sat beside him, not too close, but closer than I should. We sat there in silence for a long time, listening to the rain hit the windows. Then he spoke. "Do you ever feel like you're about to do something that's gonna change everything?" I didn't look at him. I just said, "Yeah." Another pause. Then quietly, "What are we doing, Dane?" There it was. The question that'd been clawing at the inside of my chest. I turned to him, really looked at him, this young man who wasn't mine but had slipped so easily into the cracks of my life, into the parts I forgot were still sensitive. "I don't know," but we're not going to do it." He looked at me like he already knew that answer, but part of him still wished I hadn't said it out loud. "You sure?" he asked. I wanted to lie, but I didn't. "No," I whispered. "But I know I have to be." He looked down, nodded slowly, took a sip of his tea, and then something strange happened. He smiled. Not a bitter smile. Not sad either. Just real. "I respect that," he said. And just like that, the air shifted again. The pressure eased. Not gone, but folded away, tucked into the back of a drawer we both knew would stay closed. We didn't hug. We didn't cry. We just sat. 2 people who came to the edge of something, and decided not to jump. Not because the fall wouldn't feel good, but because the crash afterward would have ruined everything that made it matter. That night, I went upstairs, crawled into bed and felt the full weight of it all settle in. But it wasn't grief. Not exactly. It was something closer to power. I had faced the thing, the desire, the fight, and I didn't burn. I woke up the next morning a little different, a little steadier. Not because I got what I wanted, but because I knew I still had something. Myself. You don't always need to act on something for it to leave a mark. Sometimes the strongest kind of intimacy is the one you walk away from. Not every story needs to end in chaos or regret. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is say, "I wanted it, but I wanted my peace more." Have you ever had an almost that changed, the kind that didn't crash but still left a scar? Drop it in the comments. Your story matters. This is a space for honesty, not judgment. If this stirred something in you, like, share, and hit that follow, because we tell the kind of stories here that live in the shadows and still deserve the light. This was just one of them. More to come. We all crave to be seen. Sometimes that hunger dresses itself up in ways we can't name, and by the time we realize we're starving, it's too late. I didn't cross the line, but I stood at the edge, and part of me still wonders what would have happened if I hadn't stepped back.